Alrighty, Houston Rockets, let's get into it. Offseason review. In the offseason, they drafted Vince Edwards with the 25th overall pick. They signed Carmelo Anthony to a 1-year minimum contract, Michael Carter-Williams to 1 year's $1.7, James Ennis to a 2-year $3.47 million contract. They re-signed Gerald Green. They re-signed Chris Paul to a big deal, 4 years and $160 million. And they also re-signed Clint Capella for 5 years and $90 million. And they also pulled off the Ryan Anderson trade, in which they traded Ryan Anderson and DeAnthony Melton for Brandon Knight and Marquise Chris from the Sun. Previously in my free agency winners and losers video, I had the Rockets pinned as a loser. Now that was before the Melo deal was done, and that was also before the Capella deal was done. In that video, I said that depending on what the Rockets do with Melo and Capella, I would be happy removing them as a loser of the offseason, and I'm removing them. They're not a loser anymore in my eyes. Melo's been getting a lot of shit from NBA fans, and I think deservedly so, but even though his ego now far outweighs his production, getting Melo on a minimum contract is still pretty darn good. The Capella deal I also really liked. Capella wanted Steven Adams money, and even though one could argue that he's as important to the Rockets as Adams is to OKC, given the center market this year, 5 years and $90 million is expected, and it was a fair deal on both sides. Also, given the amount of money the Rockets had left after they signed CP3, James Ennis was about as good an option as you could get to replace Trevor Ariza, and the Ryan Anderson trade was an absolute home run. They saved money by doing this trade, and I think they also got better. I doubt that either Brandon Knight or Marquise Chris is going to make much of an impact in the playoffs since Mike D'Antoni runs his rotations pretty short. But hey, neither did Ryan Anderson, really. I expect Brandon Knight to play a solid amount in the regular season, especially when Chris Paul rests or misses games, which I think is going to happen. The only real quabble I have with Houston's offseason, and I mentioned this in the other video, is Chris Paul's contract. Chris Paul's contract is a bad deal for the Rockets, and I'm sticking by that statement. $40 million per year for the next 4 years for a guy on the decline, riddled with injuries throughout the last couple years, is a bad deal. I understand why the Rockets had to do it, but it's still a bad deal. Before the Melo and Capella deals and before this Ryan Anderson trade, I would have given the Rockets like a C+ for the offseason. After these three things, all of which I think are overall positive, I'm going to give them a solid B. All right, here is their projected roster. Now, last year, the Houston Rockets were actually the 6th best defense in the league, which was a huge improvement over their previous year when they were below average, I think at around 18th. I could see them improving on defense this year, but I could also see them declining. After all, they did lose Trevor Ariza and Luke Mbamute. The addition of MCW, though, is a sneaky good add defensively, as MCW does have the size to switch onto different wings. With Harden and Paul and Capella and Eric Gordon still on the team, I don't have any doubts or concerns about this team offensively. Defense is what's really going to define their season. All right, let's talk about Melo for a little bit. I'm going to keep it as simple as possible. Here's what I want to see from Melo this upcoming season. I want to see Melo make quick decisions, okay? No more of that holding the ball at the top of the key, jab stepping and just trying to make a move. No, you catch the ball, you either shoot it, you either drive, or you pass. And number 2, Melo, don't make a hissy fit if Mike D'Antoni reduces your minutes or even reduces your role. Be humble enough to realize that you're at best, the 4th best player on the team. You're probably not even that. I mean, Eric Gordon, I would say, is a better player than Melo at this point. You're probably the 5th best player on the team. So there are going to be times in crunch time where you're probably not going to play. There are going to be times during the season where you're not going to play many minutes. You might not even start. Don't do that passive-aggressive thing during interviews like you did in OKC. All right, Vegas has the Houston Rockets winning 55 games. I'm taking the over on this, okay? They won 65 games last season. There's no way I see them having like a 10-game drop. Okay, that's it for the Houston Rockets. Stay tuned for the other NBA videos. If you want to check in with me in the meantime, make sure to follow me on Twitter. I'll link my Twitter in the description below, as well as probably in the pinned comments. And I'll see you next time. Peace!